tonight, walk the talk and resign over private jet comment. That's the call by the Member of Parliament for the Asin South constituency, who is demanding the resignation of Foreign Affairs Minister Ablakwa, and urges government to submit bold proposals for the acquisition of a new presidential jet to safeguard the president's safety. But this is coming up after the MP for Otafor, Vincent Assafuah, made some revelations about the president traveling on a jet. But that particular allegation has been vehemently opposed by government. We'll bring you all of that here on Top Story, revealing the real truth here on Top Story tonight. And Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies, and also by Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. Now, quote and unquote, Ghana is expecting your resignation. That's the strong message from Member of Parliament for the Asin South constituency. In the wake of allegations of the president traveling to Japan on a private jet. The demand comes after Ablakwa's past vows to resign if President John Dramani Mahamat's government used chartered flight. Now, this is coming after Vincent Assafuah, who is Member of Parliament for Otafor, claimed that President Mahamat chartered a private jet for his Japan trip. Ablakwa had previously, stated that he would resign if the NDC government used private jets, citing concerns about protecting the public purse. The MP accuses Ablakwa of engaging in petty politics, particularly during former President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo's tenure. Vincent Assafuah not only demands that we are told the truth about the president's travel, but he's urging government to prioritize the president's safety by submitting a proposal for a new presidential jet. Now, however, Deputy Chief of Staff Stan Dogbe has dismissed the claims. In a Facebook post, he clarified that President Mahama traveled to Japan on a commercial airline from Accra's Kotoka International Airport, accompanied by other passengers. We'll get into this particular matter. But as you may know, Ghana's presidential jet has been grounded in France since March 2025, and it's undergoing a routine inspection after engineers found serious damage to the jet. My colleague Caleb Ziblim is here with me in the studio with some details. Caleb, how old do we know is Ghana's presidential jet, and is it really that old?
Okay, yes, Bridge. So the Ghana's presidential jet, which is the Falcon 900 EX Easy, is an executive aircraft built by Dassault Aviation in France. Now, it was ordered around 2007 at a cost of about $37 million. And according to the Ghana Armed Forces, it was manufactured in 2009, certified in 2010, and entered service on 7 July 2010. So this means that the jet is just over 15 years old. And for perspective, the two American Air Force Ones, which is the presidential jet that the U.S. president uses, entered service in 1990 and 1991, making them 35 years and 34 years old. So by age alone, Ghana's jet is not considered too old. Ours is about 15 years old now. And the manufacturer of the jets does not state a fixed lifespan for the jets. However, the aircraft's continued service depends on strict adherence to its maintenance schedule. So this includes a basic inspection every 200 flight hours or 2 months, whichever comes first, a full inspection every year, and a heavy maintenance every 6 years. So according to the manufacturer, if you adhere to this maintenance schedule, you should not have problems with your aircraft anytime soon.
Okay. Now, which company, rented this particular jet to government? And is it a rented jet anyway?
The presidential jet is for the government. We bought it and we paid for it. It was manufactured in 2007. by Dassault Aviation in France, and then it has been in service since July 7th, 2010.
How about its current state?
So the current state, that's where the concern lies. According to the late Defense Minister, Dr. Kofi Omaniboama, speaking at the Government Accountability Series on 21st July, he said the aircraft is undergoing maintenance in France and has been found to be heavily corroded. But he still stressed that this does not justify the frequent hiring or renting of luxurious private aircrafts for presidential use. So the Defense Ministry was clear that they are not going to be using private aircraft for luxurious private aircraft for presidential use. However, the current state of the Ghana's presidential jets is that it is heavily corroded and is going maintenance in France.
I'm grateful to you, Caleb Ziblim, there. But the MP for Ota, for Vincent Assafuah, who stoked this whole new debate about the presidential jet, made a post on Facebook where he wrote, quote, "This private jet, MBAEP, left Accra this morning around 7 a.m. It is estimated to cost $15,000 per hour to rent this flight. A simple calculation shows that the 7-hour journey already covered an amount to $105,000. If the flight proceeds to Japan, which is likely to take about 12 hours, that would be another $180,000. If it then continues to Singapore, approximately 7 hours away, that would add another $105,000. Finally, if the jet flies directly to Germany and then back to Accra, a total of about 20 hours return trip, that would add another $300,000, dollars. And then he says altogether the cost comes to an incredible $690,000 without including waiting times and or stopovers. And he attaches an airline ticket that shows the travel from Accra to Berlin in Germany. Luckily for us, we've been joined on the line by him, Vincent Assafuah, MP for Ota. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Unfortunately, we've lost him there, but we'll get him to help us understand where all of this, is coming from. Vincent will be joining us for us to have this particular discussion here on top. So again, as a build, after that particular conversation got started, then the ranking on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Reverend Tim Forjo, then joins the discussion and proposes or calls for the resignation of Samuel Ablakwa, who is the Foreign Affairs Minister, for stating in the past that if they come to power and the president engages in the rental of private jet, he will resign. We'll get to that particular matter shortly here on the show. But Vincent Assafuah has joined us back on the line. Let's bring him in. Vincent, do I still have you here? Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we'll try and get Vincent Assafuah so we have this particular interaction. But also on Reverend Intim Forjo, he wrote on X about this particular, trending topic, and he says, "My principles, or Mr. Principles at S. Okujeto Ablak, Ghana is expecting your resignation. NDC must apologize to Ghanaians and President Akufo-Addo for doing petty politics with presidential travels. Government must be bold to submit proposals for the acquisition of new presidential jet for the president's safety." We'll get to that particular matter shortly. Vincent Assafuah has joined us. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, let's get the full details. What made you conclude that the president will be traveling on that particular jet?
You take your time to read my statement, because if you clearly took your time to read my statement, you would realize that there was no conclusion at all. In the absence of information, the vacuum is created. And as a member of parliament, when I receive information from sources, you need to verify and verify. But sometimes you still leave room for doubt. And that is how I couch my statement for the Ghanaian people to understand that, yes, there is something fishy. And I'll demonstrate to you why.
So you're saying that your post was not conclusive enough?
Have you read the statement?
I have. I just read it on air. But I'm
saying... So you realize that there are some instances, I think that paragraph 2 and 3, I use conditional statement where I said, if it proceeds to here, if it proceeds to here. The first line, I was very clear with what I said. And so I am only saying.
So I get it, but your if clauses, were you then stating from the first sentence that you knew for sure that the president was on that particular plane?
Why are you so much interested in the flight that the president used? See, read the statement from Felix Opozukwache. It says that the president is traveling with a delegation. So your interest should not only be about the president. It should be about the president and the delegation. So I am suggesting to you that there's a private jet that left the shores of this country yesterday around 7 a.m. As to the people who were in that flight, you and I cannot confirm. Why is the state, why is the government silent about it, only telling us that the president traveled to Japan without naming the people that he's traveling with? In any case, go and check the president. Hold on. Go and check the president's earlier term when he was president of the republic in 2013, 2014, 2015. All the statements that were issued by the president at the time through his communications officers were that the president was traveling with a delegation, which delegation was named, and their capacity and what they are going to do also mentioned in those statements. And I could read some of them to you if you give me time.
But I want to understand something. So the president is traveling with a delegation that we've been told. But are you
aware of the delegation?
No, I'm coming. Are you alleging?
No, are you aware?
Are you alleging that this delegation is the one traveling on this jet, or what really is it your connection with the jet that you put out there?
I am not the one receiving the 78 million for government communications. 78 million Ghana cedis has been approved by Parliament, given to a ministry to give information to the Ghanaian people. Why do you come and tell me that the president traveled on a commercial line? Which commercial line? We don't know. Are you telling us that the president traveled with a delegation? And in that statement, you make it clear that the president is going to make sure that there is some amount of investment that we brought back to the state. Is it the case that the Minister of Trade is part of this delegation? We are not aware. As a member of Parliament, I'm interested. A taxpayer, I'm interested. Is it the case that the GIPC boss is part of the delegation? As a member of Parliament, I'm interested. I should be aware. Why is the government hiding this information from us when their earlier statement from 2013 to 2016 was very clear about that? Is it because of how they politicize our presidential jet and how they politicize renting of aircraft in this country? And for that matter, they are hiding such information from us.
Okay.
In any case,
now,
can anybody convince me that it is an issue of national security? If it is an issue of national security, as I was told on the floor of Parliament by my brother Omane Boama and the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament at the time, if that is the case, please, just about 8 months, 9 months ago, they did not care about the supposed national security.
Okay.
So why are they hiding all this information from us?
But Mr. Assafuah, did your source confirm to you, because you said you received that information, did your source confirm to you who were on it, that the president was on that jet?
I am suggesting to you that I can only help you as the fourth asset of the realm for you to unravel some of these mysteries. That the president travels, the delegation is not known. We don't even know the commercial airline that the president used. We don't know the delegation as to the aircraft that they used. Are you not interested?
I'm interested.
Why is the 78 billion Ghana cedis that's been given to a ministry cannot communicate this simple fact to us?
I'm interested, but I also want to find out from you whether you got your fact right, that the president was indeed traveling on that particular jet at that time.
My brother, that is what I'm saying. That, see, I'm a lawyer. When I'm writing, I know what I'm writing. And I know what I seek to achieve. And that's why I'm saying that when you read what I wrote, it should tell you that I wanted to seek certain answers. And that is why, from how I see the information being sent around, there is something fishy going on.
Okay.
Because I don't see why the government is hiding some of this information from us.
We are being told by government sources that indeed the 7 a.m. you gave, the president was in Ghana around 10 a.m. So how could that jet that you say left Ghana around 7
Why
a.m.?
are you setting your own question and answer that? I am telling you that I'm not interested in the president. I'm interested in the president and the delegation, because in their own statement, they made mention of the president traveling with a delegation. Why do you want to single out the president? Is it the case that the jet is meeting the president, or if like some other people somewhere? That is what the president intentionally, probably, if what they are alleging is the case, use a commercial airline which we don't even know. Please, you have to take your time, else you make a mistake.
So your focus is not entirely on the president, but his entourage and
the
which flight they are
president
traveling.
And the entourage. The fact that if what they are saying is true, the president did not use the aircraft that I'm talking about, it does not mean that the president will not use it along his trip. So let's be careful.
Okay. Let me bring in Peter Lanchini Tobu. He is Vice Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining here. What do we know about this particular travel by the president? Okay. We'll bring in Peter Lanchini Tobu again. But Mr. Mr. Assafuah, if you government sources, and I'm quoting Stan Dugbe here, he says the president is traveling on a commercial flight with some Ghanaians with him on board. So that doesn't that answer your question about whether they are on the commercial flight or not? Hello, Mr. Vincent Assafuah, do I have you?
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah, I'm asking that. I mean, if you read from the Deputy Chief of Staff, he says the president is traveling on a commercial flight with some Ghanaians with him on board that flight. Does it answer your question about, I mean, whether this delegation is traveling on the presidential on that rented jet or not? Okay, so we lost Vincent Assafuah there. He's MP for Old Tafo. We'll try and bring him up again to have this interaction and to get to the bottom of this particular matter. We'll also be getting to Parliament to understand what they do know, and we'll also be speaking to government here. The Minister for Government Communication is built to speak to us so that we can get some answers to the public who want to know exactly what is happening. Vincent Assafuah says he is talking about the president and his delegation, whether the delegation is on this flight that he put out there in the public space that left Accra at 7 a.m. And he says, in his words, that if the president even so left the shores of Ghana on a commercial flight, is it the fact that the president might not be traveling on that jet that left the shores of Ghana on 7 a.m.? Well, we'll get some answers for you here on Top Story. But if you read the Facebook page of Stan Dugbe, he says the president was live on many TV networks between 10:30 a.m. and 12:45 p.m. attending the Thanksgiving Mass of Dr. Edward Omani Boama at the Christ the King Parish. Did he take off in the supposed jet at 7 a.m. and flew back for the 10:30 a.m. Mass? Okay, so that's what the Deputy Chief of Staff is putting out there. Vincent Assafuah is now broadening the discussion to say, well, the focus should not only be on the president, but again on the delegation traveling with the president. We'll get all of those, checks for you here on Top Story. Again, as when this whole thing came up, then the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee, Reverend Tim Fojo, then added a call on the Foreign Affairs Minister to resign, because he said in the past that if they come to power and the president or the government rent jet, he will resign. And again, he's proposing that the government or the executive must come with a proposal to buy a new jet. We'll get some answers from him as well here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, and also by our friends who are also helping us out here. Showed Pension Trust into the future with you. Okay. So that's what Stan Dogbe put out, and I've read that to you. He is challenging what, the Otafo MP has put out there, that the president is not traveling on that particular jet, and that the president is traveling on a commercial flight. So when we are joined by government, we'll get more details about that particular flight that we're told the president is traveling. Now, if Stan Dogbe again brings some more clarity, says President John Dramani Mahama is on his way to Japan on board a commercial airline from Accra's Kotoka International Airport. There are he says there are right-thinking Ghanaians on board with him. That is what they put out there. Again, he continues to say, quote, if the president's trip requires a privately chartered aircraft and not his brother's Jata, which has saved the state huge sums of money, be sure that we will go for that, but not at an exorbitant cost to the state. So that's what the deputy chief of staff has been. He's been providing some clarity on this whole allegation of the president traveling on a certain rented jet, which was put out in the public space by Echo Vincent Assafuah, who is the MP for Old Tafo. So we'll get to the bottom of this and get some more reaction for you here on it, because according to Echo, and I quote, it says this private jet MBAEP left Accra this morning around 7 a.m. It is estimated to cost $15,000 per hour to rent this flight. A simple calculation shows that the 7-hour journey already covered amount to $105,000. If the flight proceeds to Japan, which is likely to take about 12 hours, that would be another $180,000. And then he continues to say, if it then continues to Singapore, approximately 7 hours away, that would add another $105,000. Finally, if the jet flies early to Germany and then back to Accra, a total of about 20 hours return trip, that would add another $300,000. Then he adds it together to say, quote, altogether, the cost comes to an incredible $690,000 without including waiting times and or stopovers. And then he provides that particular ticket showing when the airline left Accra. Sunday, 17th August, 7:13 a.m. GMT, and was expected to land in Germany at 4:12 p.m. Central Eastern Europe time. So that is what we do know there, according to Vincent Assafuah. But he says the focus must not be on the president alone. The government has vehemently denied that particular allegation. So let's try and bring in Reverend Intim Fojo now, because he has also alleged, he has made a post on X that if it is true that the president rented the jet, then the Foreign Affairs Minister should resign. Reverend, I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you very much, KJB.
So, where is your what is the grounding of your post on X that the Foreign Affairs Minister should resign?
Have you read my post?
Yes, I have. I just read it on air.
Very well. If my post is what you read, then in context you will understand that I'm calling for the NDC to be bold to bring a proposal prioritizing the safety of the president for a new acquisition of a presidential jet. For that conversation to be had, you remember on your platforms, for a month now, I've consistently been calling for the government to lead that discussion. We, on our side, would do the kind of opposition politics that prioritizes the safety of the president, and will not do petty politics with how the president travels.
So what is informing
on private jets? Whether the president travels on private jets or travels commercial or goes on presidential jets, we are interested in the safety. Any means suitable and safe for the president to embark on his official travels, that is our concern.
Okay.
And so the conversation should be in context. What we're expecting NDC to do now is to concede that indeed they erred when they were in opposition and chose to do petty politics with presidential travels. More than ever before, recent events have taught us a lesson that platforms on which the president travels are the ties that should never be politicized.
So, on which basis are you calling on the Foreign Affairs Minister to resign?
On the basis of irresponsible politics he did with presidential travels. He vowed clearly, and you have all your tapes, that he will resign if any president or vice president travels on a private jet. Since they assumed office from January to this point, there have been occasions where the vice president and the president have used private jets. I have no problem with it. I have stated time and time again that if the state security apparatus determines that a vice president or the president should travel on private jets or any other suitable means of, aircraft, that should not be a subject for discussion. But they did politics with it.
But today we're being told that the president never traveled on a rented jet for his current travel to Japan.
I never referenced the current travel, so
Okay.
that is why you need to read my post.
Okay.
I never referenced a particular travel, neither did I reference yesterday's travel. I am talking about matter of principle. Since January till now, the president and the vice president are on record to have flown on private jets. And I have stated that we don't have any problem with that. The vice president or the president can fly private at any time as the state so determines. And I will support if that is the means available. When there is commercial flights available, the president may use it, the vice president may use it. If the travel is like that, a private jet is what has to be chartered for that trip for safety, I will support that call. But the bigger conversation we must be having is that since we understand that the president cannot travel commercial at all times, and there's need for a befitting presidential jet, which will aid the presidential travels, it's important we put aside politics and hold that conversation. And the government of the day is the one whose responsibility it is to initiate that proposal so that Ghanaians will be carried along. I have already started a lot of massive advocacy that if NDC and the current government should initiate that conversation, we should support them. But for that support to come, they have to first apologize to Ghanaians that when the experts give accounts of the state of the presidential aircraft and stated that it was time for replacement, it was time for us to have a conversation about it. And they said, no, it is the best aircraft in Africa, the third best aircraft. There's nothing wrong with it. On hindsight, they have come to know that they lied to Ghanaians. And so they need to apologize.
Your point basically is not
And
related to the fact that the allegations about the president traveling on a jet today. Just briefly, we'll be joined by Professor Daniel Kwesi Ajekum. He is an aviation expert. Prof, with the current presidential jet, do you think it's worthy to be flying the president?
Yes. Thank you very much, and greetings to my fellow panelists and the rest of the listening public. Basically, I would just want to, reference all my discussion by stating that I'm a retired Air Force officer. I was in the communications squadron of the Ghana Air Force, which was tasked with executive travel. And so that should be put in context as part of my submission. Okay. There's this whole discussion about presidential jet. Personally, and in my opinion, I think there is a little bit of semantics being played around. Basically, the Ghana Air Force, as part of its role within the whole national defense discussion or policy, is tasked to provide executive travel or special travel for the government. And so basically any aircraft that is provided to the Ghana Air Force for that purpose, it's not solely for the president, it is for all governmental travels. And so we have to frame the discussion in that way. Why do we even need, that capabilities? Let me use the example of, flying the president because maybe he's the chief executive of the nation. You want that
All right,
flexibility.
Prof, I'm grateful to you, but we have to leave it here because of time. This has been Top Story brought to you by Telecel, connecting energy. Up next is News Night.
Small money day, big money day. Where to